All right. So, any questions before we get started? Anything to report? Heidi, you went to the Maker Faire. It sounds like you had a great time. Anything you want to share with us? Your camera isn't working. Have you gone across the top to settings with your camera? If you're on a laptop, Heidi, and you drag your cursor across the top, I know that you can see the camera. If it's got a slash across it, it's off. But you can also go and turn your camera on if you click on the setting gear that's up there as well, and make sure that the very first thing there is your camera. Make sure that your camera's turned on from the settings. So not only the camera icon, but the setting gear too. So we can't see you, but you can see us, correct? Yeah, if it says that there's no camera found, somewhere along the line you disabled your camera. So we can try and figure out how to fix that in a bit, but let's go ahead and move on since you can see us. Can you hear us? And I mean, is your mic working? If you're talking, we can't hear you. Yeah, somehow you disabled both of them. So what I would do is jump off the Hangout and come back on and make sure that everything's enabled. I can send you, if you want, I can send you the another notification, and just make sure that when you come on, everything's enabled. Do you want to jump off and come back on with another notification? Okay. I'm going to send you an invite. So we'll see if Heidi can get back on this time and have her mic and her camera work. So, so it says, is it okay to send the STL extension file? How do we share the file in the discussion board? Do we need a written portion to explain our 3D printing model? So I'll show you where you can. Okay, Heidi's back. Can you hear Heidi? Is your camera still not working? I guess not. So I guess you'll have to join us through the. Oh, is that you? I hear a mic being added. Okay, so I'm going to go screen share right now in the area 2, week 2, to show you where people have been posting their STL extension files. So I'm going to screen share, and every once in a while, and it seems to really be liking that lately. Okay, so I'm going to go into week 2 on my Blackboard, and hopefully you can see this. And I'm going down to the assignment 2 area, printing sketch. And then it says text submission. So you can click here and put your put the link in, and I'll get the link. Or you can create a Word file or a Google file, something like that, and then browse your computer and upload the file there if you put your link on a file rather than just writing it directly. When you do it this way, when you browse the computer, if you've created a file and you have pasted your link to, or your uploaded your file to the computer, then I will just open it with one of those free file viewers that I shared with you in the week 2 tools section, which I can show you. But you should be able to just browse your computer and upload a file right here. Just because it's STL, it doesn't mean that I can't open it. It just means I have to open it using another, well, in this case it's an extension. What I use is an extension that is up in my toolbar. So you either upload your file here. If you want to send it to me as well, you can. Let's see if we go back and take a look at how do we share the file in the discussion board. Well, you upload it in the section 2 area that I just showed you in the assignment area, your STL. And do we need a written portion to explain our 3D printing model? So again, I'm going to jump back and open the assignment, and you can take a look at what it says specifically in the assignment that you needed to do. Come on, open up. Slow today. So you're going to download the STL or skip file. You're going to create the drawing. You're going to make sure that you address everything here in the rubric, and you'll note that I made some updates here. Construction or drawing is extremely clear and scaled correctly to allow easy interpretation of all design elements. In other words, will I know what the object is by looking at your drawing? If I don't know what it is, then it's probably not extremely clear or scaled correctly. Okay? If you want to put something, if you want to include some text in your assignment area upload, you certainly can do that. But I should be able to recognize what it is. And you should have, remember, you're supposed to have a legend or a key or labels on your drawing so that I can see a title, I can see a label, it's legible. There's some artistic merit to what you've done. It's not just a sphere that there's some difficulty attached to it, but not. It doesn't have to be, this one says it has to be complex and uniquely innovative and clearly original, meaning basically that you can't go on Google Images and search Tinkercad drawings and just upload that. That it has to be something you created, not plagiarized, okay? So did you create something, not just copy a shape or two and connect them, or upload somebody else's image? Coloring, if possible. Tinkercad allows stripes of color. Design is exceptionally attractive and accurate. So if appropriate, does the drawing include more than one color? Is it aesthetically pleasing? So basically, just wanting to know if you know how to use color in a 3D drawing. And you don't have to have 10 colors, just something that's visually appealing and has more than one color. And I do know that some of the online print stores for 3D will only print in one color, and some of you have already taken your design and printed it in 3D, and although you did your design in 2 or 3 colors, you were only able to print it in one. That's fine. I understand that. But the drawing should be in more than one color. Dimensions are provided and reasonable for cost-effective printing. So did you try uploading your drawing to a 3D printing site to see how much it would cost? Would you pay that? Will you pay that? Is it reasonable? If it's unreasonable, then your dimensions or your creation is probably not reasonably cost-effective for printing. Okay, but there's nothing here that says you have to do anything in writing. You just have to upload that file. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing here for just a minute so I can get back to the screen and see what else folks need to know. What do I mean by legend? Well, a map has a legend. You know, 1 inch equals 100 miles. You know, it's a scale. If the drawing isn't to scale, then you have to have some kind of key or legend to let me know what scale it's in. Is it 2:1? Is it is it a centimeter to equals well, I'm trying to think. You probably would want to do things in centimeter, but the way that the assignment is written is that you need to be sure that you're letting me know what the scale is. You don't need a scale if you have all the sizes marked. I still need to know. I don't want to have to get out a ruler to measure it. So you still have to let me know. You just, okay, so if you go back to the assignment, it says it's on the drawing. So Heidi's writing, if it's to scale, then we don't need a legend. I turned mine in, but I didn't understand where to put the legend. So you're supposed to have the dimensions on your drawing, and both of those tools have options for showing dimensions or hiding dimensions. So you can go back and look at your settings and see how you set your drawing, but I shouldn't have to get out a ruler and measure it. Okay? Any more questions about that? Anybody have any suggestions on how they did their legend or their key? If you need to resubmit, you submit it in the same area. All your assignment areas are marked for more than one submission. You can keep uploading 100 times if you need to, and I'll just score the last one. Okay? Lots of people resubmit because the first couple of times they submit something, they accidentally submit the wrong file, or they upload something and it's not complete, or whatever the case may be. So quite often I get more than one submission from students, so it's not a problem. You just go back to the same area and submit again. Okay? When I open the grade book, I'll see multiple submissions, and you may see some zeros because I generally just do zeros for all of the submissions before the one that I actually grade. Okay? Anything else about that? No? Okay, how about this week? This week is pretty straightforward. Anybody have any troubles with the Goodreads account? No? I set up some books as examples in mine, and I invited you to my group. So you should have been able to go on and use mine as a sample. Hopefully that helped. And I also gave you, I talked to a couple of people about the books they selected. You have to have 4 books at minimum in your Goodreads account. One of them you have to actually be reading. And you probably noticed from the assignment that your last week in this course is a review on that book. You'll have to write a review on that book. So don't save it till the last minute to read. Make sure that you actually are, if you haven't already finished it, that you are keeping up with it throughout the course. And it's not just a review on Goodreads. You're actually going to write a book review that you're going to turn in. Okay, so Heidi says, my pop-up blocker says that this page is blocked from accessing my camera. I opened up the pop-up blocker and clicked allow, but it's still not working. Okay, well, we'll have to problem solve this when everybody jumps off, Heidi. We'll try a few things after we get through the content, and then you and I will try and see if we can get it to work afterwards. So let's see. I really want to read a book about learning, but it does not involve technology, so I'm assuming that I can't choose that book. Am I right? Yep. You have to, this is an emerging technology course, so you have to read something about technology, right? I did George, I think let me real quick look at George's book. I made a recommendation for you all this week, or I made some suggestions. If you look at the check this out page in the folder for week 3, there's the newspaper article about the Bay Area Maker Faire that Heidi went to, and some very interesting, if you haven't read it yet, it's a very short online article. You should check it out. On Saturday, May 21st, there was a Concordia webinar. It actually was happening live in Southern California at the campus, but for those of us that were not down there, it was broadcast to us. And the presenter was George Couros, and he started the training off with the PD off with this video, which I'm not going to play for you now, but if you haven't watched it, it's pretty provocative. It's only 45 seconds. You ought to watch it. It's about a baby being born technologically literate, and it's very interesting. It was our first icebreaker exercise for the training, but this is George. He has a blog called Principle of Change, and this BitDo is a link to a file that he created that has a lot of resources in it on innovation in schools. And he actually has written a book. The book is called The Innovator's Mindset: Empowering Learning, Unleashing Talent, and Lead a Culture of Creativity. And that is, he writes very similarly to what Sir Ken Robinson talks about, that we have to allow kids to be more creative and give them opportunities to be innovators and problem solvers, and of course he does that all through a lens of technology. So if you want to read about creativity and talent and unleashing innovation in the classroom, and it's through the mindset or the lens of technology, that would be okay. But whatever book you are going to read and share your review about at the end needs to be linked somehow to technology. Okay? Okay, going back to the chat window so that I can see if anybody's said anything. Oh, Heidi watched the baby commercial. Yes, very interesting is one way to put it. I'm not quite sure what I think of it, but it certainly feels like we're heading in the direction of children being born technologically literate. It was very over the top. It was very, very over the top. But if you have 45 seconds to spare, watch it and see what you think of it. Like I said, it's very provocative. Okay, so let's see. If you haven't already, and I've noticed that several of you have, I'm going to go back and share again.
Excuse me, Dr. Hall.
Yes.
Yeah, I was browsing books at Barnes and Noble, and I saw that one you just mentioned by him,
George?
Innovative Mindset. Yeah, that was on my alternate reading list, you know, of the three that I was gonna put. But now that you mention it, I might try that one, because I don't know if the other one that I chose was it seemed to be tied into technology, but it wasn't as clear cut to technology.
Well, if you search books for innovation in schools or innovation in education, you're going to come up with books that are not only talk about things like tiered student support or differentiated instruction, but you're going to talk about the tools to get there. And you know, a lot of people say that technology is just a tool. It's just a tool. So that's basically what you're looking for. If you want to look at something that has to do with instruction, innovation, creativity, problem solving, just make sure that it's done through the lens of using technology as a tool to serve students in that particular area. George was kind of controversial, you know, another guy who actually talks a lot in his books about innovation and technology and is very thought-provoking, again, along the lines of Sir Ken Robinson, is Daniel Pink. And if you haven't read any of his books, you could probably make an argument that they are about technology. They're certainly about innovation. Okay, you read one of his books. Which one did you read in the second class? Drive? Okay. That's one of his first ones. So something along that line you could do. You know, Wagner and Prensky both have other books. You could certainly read them, and in fact, a couple of those books we had in the first class, we didn't read all the way through. So, there's an argument that could be made that one of those books from the first class that we didn't actually read a great deal of, you could probably finish here, as long as it wasn't one we mostly read in the first class. But there's an awful lot out there. I just went online a couple of days ago and Googled, 10 best books on innovation in schools, and I came up with a list of some really interesting ones that I want to read, and I actually took 3 or 4 of them from that list and posted them to my Goodreads. So you can certainly do the same thing. And Heidi, is it you that's reading Bill's book, Teaching the I Generation? That's a, no, that's, oh, it is Lindsay. You're right, it is Lindsay. That's a book written by a good friend of mine, and he's a 6th grade science teacher in North Carolina, Bill Ferreter. And it's not an expensive book. It's published by Solution Tree, and it has a lot of practical applications in it, because he's a classroom teacher, and so he writes so that he ensures that teachers picking up his books will be able to actually do something with them the next day in class. So Teaching the I Generation is a good one to get your hands on if you haven't read that one either. You're reading Learn, Making, Tinkering, and Engineering in the Classroom. That sounds very interesting, and I think that's probably something you're interested in. So again, that's another thing. Make sure that you're picking a book that you're actually interested in. If you're interested in all kinds of digital 2.0 tools, Bill's book is great, because his book is all about using digital 2.0 tools. If you're interested in tinkering and making and engineering in the classroom, Heidi's got a good choice. So it's really what interests you. Okay? Anything else about that? I did notice that several of you are chatting in the second discussion board area for week 2 and helping each other out with the 3D drawings and resources. I just want to thank you for doing that, besides getting yourself some bonus points, because that's optional, an optional 10 points. I've been noticing that you've been helping each other out there, and particularly people who are having a rough time with trying to figure out the 3D drawing. That's a great place to get your colleagues' input, because several people, I would say at least 6 or 7 of your classmates, have already posted their drawings. So they've already grappled with it. If you're still struggling, make sure that you use your colleagues as a resource. That's great. Well, I'm glad that you all, that Maria and Melanie and Varioska, you're all having kind of a team approach to getting it done, and that you've been meeting after school. Good, helping each other. Well, again, Heidi, we can take it. You can share the screen and show me what you're doing. When we're done with this call, you can take over the share, and I can try and help you with your issue. Let's see. The discussion board, shout out to Sergio and Sheree for this week's topic on social media in the classroom. I keep thinking with two of you going each week, although we will run out of weeks where we have two people, shortly be going into one person each week. But I thought we'd run out of thought-provoking topics, but no, and you've been having very interesting responses to it. I even got into the mix with it the other day with some comments about Twitter. But those of you who have done face-to-face with me know that I'm pretty passionate about using Twitter as a tool, if not for having students do back channel conversations about the topic that you're engaging them in, at least with colleagues. I mean, you can get just about any question on education answered if you throw it out on Twitter with the appropriate hashtag. And you would be surprised. You might actually get Sir Ken Robinson or Robert Marsano or Daniel Pink actually responding to you because they all monitor Twitter, and when questions come up that these experts think they can weigh in on or help somebody out with, they absolutely do. And high school teachers help high school teachers, and elementary, and there's principal hashtags for principals. There's just all different kinds of help out there via Twitter. So social media has applications, and it's been very interesting to see the conversations you've been having in the discussion area. Very thought-provoking. So thanks again to Sergio and Sheree for that topic. Okay, let's take a quick look and see who's next week. Let's see. Next week we have week 4, Nancy, and she's by herself because Michael Wallace, who apparently was going to be in the in our course this term, dropped out. So Nancy is by herself. So we'll see what she comes up with in week 4. Okay. I didn't really think that the assignment was too complicated this week, so does anybody need me to go through the assignment for week 3, the Goodreads, or are you feeling pretty good about it? I noticed that several of you have already posted your link. Okay. I'm getting notes on the side here that people feel that it's going pretty much okay. So let me just take a look at what else I have here. I'm gonna go back to the to-do list real quick and make sure that everything for this week, SketchUp, prompts, we just talked about that in the discussion board. There was, I believe, only a couple of Evernote resources. Oh, and just wanted you to know, I was having trouble getting into the EDUT 522 Evernote notebook, and I contacted the owner, Dr. Malia Hoffman, and she apologized and said she had changed things around and forgot to re-invite our group. So if you are having difficulty, you should be using this link now that's in the to-do list, and Hopefully you're seeing the Evernote screen now, and you'll notice that the weeks are back up here. Let me see if I can make this a little bit larger so you can see. If you use the new link, you're going to see that she has tagged, gone back and re-tagged everything by week. So when you click on week 3, here's the one article. You click on week 4 over here, there's 2 things for next week. Week 5, there's 1. And week 6, there's a few, and she hasn't posted 7 or 8 yet. So in case you hadn't seen that link had changed, I wanted you to notice that. So let me just, I think I'll highlight it just to make sure. Remember that this is in week 3. If you get stuck and your link isn't working, come back and try this one. So Goodreads account, we just talked about that. The 4 books. Click here for the assignment in the rubric. The Pearl Trees is still optional. It's there if you need any resources for another assignment. Or I suggested you take a look at it if you happen to be the icebreaker lead, because there are things posted here that aren't on Evernote, and you might be able to use them. Okay? So it looks like that's pretty much all the resources that I had for you this week. It wasn't real intensive, resource intensive this week. Pretty straightforward. Okay? Any questions? No questions? Okay, then what I'm going to do is stop the broadcast. And then I'm just going to work with Heidi to try and get her camera and her mic working. So the rest of you have a great long weekend. Some of you are out of school this week. Okay, and so enjoy your last days of class. Maybe tomorrow's your last day. I know Mei Yi said she couldn't join us today because today was the last day of school for her. So she's with her colleagues celebrating the last day of school. So I'm going to stop the broadcast, and you all have a great Memorial Day weekend, and I will be posting, I've already posted week 4's folder. There's not a ton in it yet, but there'll be more, and then of course I'll do the announcement and the video broadcast on Sunday. Okay? So happy Memorial Day.